Lorraine Harlan snatched the bridal bouquet from the young flower girl's hands and hurled it into the gutter. Get this ghetto trash off my street before I call immigration on every last one of you. Her spit landed on Dominic Langston's polished dress shoes as she screamed inches from his face. The groom stood motionless, jaw tight with restraint, while his new wife Elena clutched her ivory dress in stunned silence. Dozens of wedding guests watched in horror as Lorraine kicked over the champagne table, sending crystal glasses exploding across the pavement. You people think you can turn our neighborhood into a project, she spat, pointing a manicured finger at the elegant outdoor ceremony. Not while I'm breathing. A small city seal on Dominic's cufflink caught the afternoon light like a quiet promise. Have you ever watched someone's prejudice backfire so completely that it transformed an entire community forever? Lorraine's trembling fingers jabbed at her phone. 911, I need the police at my address immediately. Her voice cracked with manufactured urgency. There's a massive illegal gathering, loud music, public intoxication, probably drug activity. It's a bunch of urban people who don't belong in this neighborhood. The dispatcher's calm tone contrasted with her hysteria. Ma'am, can you describe the nature of the disturbance? Look, I pay premium property taxes for peace and quiet. These people are destroying our community standards with their ghetto celebration. Dominic approached slowly, hands visible and non-threatening. Ma'am, perhaps we can resolve this neighborly. Don't you dare patronize me. Lorraine whirled around, pointing accusingly. I know exactly what you people are trying to pull here. While still on the line with 911, she opened her neighborhood app and started a live stream to her followers. Emergency situation on Maple Ridge, protecting our community from these people. Comments flooded in immediately. Call the HOA. Property values tanking. This is why we moved here. Her teenage niece Maya, standing near the dessert table, discreetly started her own live stream. Y'all need to see this Karen losing her absolute mind at my aunt's wedding. Viewers trickled in, then multiplied rapidly as word spread through teenage networks faster than Lorraine could rally support. The police dispatch crackled through her speaker. Responding units were on their way. Lorraine's eyes lit up triumphantly. Did you hear that? They're coming to shut this down. Dominic pulled a thick folder from inside his tuxedo jacket. Ma'am, everything here is properly permitted through the appropriate municipal departments. His voice remained steady and professional. Lorraine snatched his papers and scanned them frantically. Permitted by who? Your cousin at City Hall? These could be fake for all I know. The elderly Mrs. Covington next door emerged onto her porch, shaking her head as she filmed through her window. Ring doorbells across the street captured every angle in crisp detail. Multiple live streams now broadcast the confrontation to growing audiences. Where are your green cards? Lorraine screamed at the catering staff, who continued serving with professional dignity. I'm documenting everything for my lawsuit. Dominic's best man, a tall figure in dress blues, stepped forward slightly. Captain Darius Reed's military bearing commanded immediate respect, but Lorraine was too consumed by her tirade to notice. Dominic tried again. Ma'am, we've lived here for several years. We've actually met before at... I don't care where you think you live. Lorraine's voice reached a pitch that made several children cover their ears. Like, this is our neighborhood. We have standards. She grabbed her phone again, typing furiously in the neighborhood group chat. Within moments, a few neighbors emerged. Mrs. Patterson clutched a folder of HOA violation forms. Mr. Novak held his phone, checking decibel readings with an app. Teenagers across the street switched to another platform, already tagging the unfolding drama. Look at this invasion, Lorraine gestured wildly. Blocked driveways, excessive noise, public intoxication. Tell your parents this isn't the project. Young Tyler, Dominic's nephew, tugged on his uncle's jacket. Uncle, why is that lady so angry at our family? Dominic knelt down, voice gentle. Sometimes people get confused about what makes a community strong, little man. Lorraine overheard and exploded. Don't you dare brainwash that child with your victim mentality. This is about property values and community standards. Live comments multiplied rapidly across platforms. Maya's stream gained hundreds of viewers and climbing. The neighborhood app showed active commenters arguing, some supporting Lorraine, others questioning her aggressive language. She deleted negative comments frantically while continuing to broadcast. I'm calling my husband Victor, Lorraine announced loudly. He's a lawyer. We'll shut this down permanently with legal action. Dominic's grandmother, Evelyn Langston, approached slowly with her walker. Decades of community service showed in her posture. A small pin on her corsage caught the light. She had served on the city council for many years. Young lady, Evelyn's voice carried quiet authority. I've lived in this neighborhood for decades. This is how neighbors should treat each other. Lorraine barely glanced at her. Ma'am, with all due respect, you don't understand what's happening to our neighborhood. These people are... I understand perfectly, Evelyn interrupted. The question is whether you do. Dominic checked his watch. The ceremony was set to begin shortly. His bride Elena stood with her bridesmaids, trying to maintain composure while their special day crumbled around them. Police are coming, Lorraine announced to her live stream audience, now reaching hundreds of viewers. Finally, someone will restore order to our community. The sound of sirens grew in the distance. Dominic touched his cufflinks again. The small city seal caught the afternoon light like a hidden promise. His face remained calm, but something shifted in his posture. The gathering storm was about to meet an unexpected force. Two patrol cars rounded the corner. Officers Sofia Vargas and Diego Morales stepped out, scanning the scene with practiced caution. Lorraine rushed toward them like a woman possessed, waving her phone triumphantly. Officers, thank God you're here. These people have been terrorizing our neighborhood for hours. Noise violations, blocked driveways, public disturbance, the whole circus. Officer Vargas, a veteran, surveyed the elegant wedding setup with confusion. White linens, professional catering, a string quartet playing softly. Crystal glasses caught the afternoon sunlight. Nothing resembled the chaos Lorraine described. Ma'am, this appears to be a private wedding ceremony, Officer Morales observed, tone measured. What specifically is the disturbance? Lorraine thrust her phone forward, showing her live stream. Look at this invasion. They've turned our quiet residential street into some kind of urban block party. Behind her, the social media storm intensified. Maya's stream had reached thousands of viewers with comments flooding the screen. This Karen is unhinged. Poor bride and groom. This is going viral. Other neighbors streamed from different angles, creating a multi-perspective record. Local hashtags began trending as shares multiplied. I demand you arrest them for violating city ordinances, Lorraine continued, pulling out printed HOA guidelines. Section whatever clearly prohibits excessive gatherings without proper notification. Dominic approached his officers calmly, hands visible. Officers, I apologize for any confusion. Everything here is properly permitted through the city. He gestured toward his folder. Permitted by who? Lorraine shrieked, grabbing at the papers again. Your homeboy at City Hall? These documents could be forgeries. Officer Morales' radio crackled. He stepped aside, speaking quietly into his shoulder mic. Lorraine couldn't hear the conversation, but she noticed his posture change as he glanced back at Dominic with something approaching recognition. Ma'am, Officer Vargas addressed Lorraine. We need to verify the permits and noise levels before taking any action. Verify, verify, Lorraine's voice reached a crescendo. I'm a tax-paying resident. My word should be enough. The wedding party huddled near the reception area. Elderly relatives clutched chairs for support. Dominic's mother, stressed, checked her health monitor with shaking hands. Children clung to their parents, confused by the escalating conflict. Mrs. Patterson approached from down the street carrying her HOA violation forms. Lorraine's right. We need to protect our property values. She began documenting perceived infractions, unauthorized parking, excessive decorations, potential fire code issues. Mr. Novak emerged with his phone. Current noise level is well within city limits for afternoon gatherings on weekends. Lorraine ignored the data. Numbers don't matter when our entire neighborhood character is under attack. Her phone buzzed constantly. Her neighborhood post had generated many responses quickly. Some supported her stance, but others questioned her language. She deleted negative comments while live streaming to a rapidly growing audience. I've documented everything, Lorraine announced loudly. Noise levels, traffic violations, suspicious behavior. This is about protecting our property values from certain elements. Captain Darius Reed, still in dress blues, approached slowly. His presence commanded immediate respect from the officers, but Lorraine remained oblivious to the shifting dynamics. More neighbors emerged, phones recording from multiple angles. Mrs. Covington filmed through her window, shaking her head disapprovingly, not at the wedding but at Lorraine's behavior. Officer Morales checked his official sound meter. The noise level appears to be within legal parameters. Legal parameters? Lorraine's face flushed crimson. Since when do these people get to define what's legal in our neighborhood? A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Even her supporters recognized the overtly racial language. Live comments exploded with outrage. Did she just say what I think she said? Screenshot that for evidence. This is not okay. Dominic's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. His uncle, Reverend Langston, placed a steadying hand on his shoulder. The family had endured worse, but on their wedding day the pain cut deeper. Additional patrol cars arrived as backup. Sergeant Thomas Reed emerged, surveying the scene with experienced eyes. What's the situation here? Noise complaint, Officer Vargas reported quietly, but everything appears to be properly permitted and within ordinance limits. Lorraine overheard and exploded. Within limits? Look at this chaos, drug activity, gang colors, probable immigration violations. The accusations flew, each more desperate than the last. Dominic remained still, but his wedding ring caught the light as his hand slowly clenched. A news van rounded the corner, alerted by the viral social media activity. Reporter Lena Brooks jumped out with her camera crew, immediately recognizing a developing story. More news vehicles followed. Lorraine's eyes lit up with vindication. Finally, real journalists who'll tell the truth about what's happening to our neighborhood. She rushed toward the cameras, smoothing her hair. This was her moment to save the neighborhood from invasion. Ma'am, can you explain the situation here? Lena Brooks asked. These people moved into our community and think they can do whatever they want. Loud music, blocked traffic, total disregard for our standards. We pay premium taxes for peace and quiet. The camera captured every word as Lorraine's audience grew across multiple platforms. Comments poured in faster than moderators could process. Neighbors began recognizing her voice from their feeds. More teenagers started their own streams, creating a multi-angle documentation. Local community groups exploded with real-time updates and competing narratives. Dominic stood quietly, observing with calculating eyes. The ceremony was set to begin soon. His bride, Elena, fought back tears, her perfect day dissolving into a nightmare. "Officers," he said calmly, "my wife has waited long enough. May we proceed with our wedding?" "Proceed?" Lorraine whirled around, planting herself directly in front of the wedding arch. "You're not proceeding anywhere until we sort out this illegal assembly." She crossed her arms defiantly. Behind her, the string quartet continued playing softly, creating a surreal contrast between elegant music and escalating confrontation. "Ma'am, you need to step aside," Officer Vargas warned. "You're interfering with a legally permitted event." "I'm protecting my community," Lorraine shouted for the cameras. "Someone has to take a stand against this invasion." The word hung in the air like poison. Social media exploded with screenshot captures and video clips. Hashtags began trending alongside the wedding. Dominic stepped forward slowly, reaching into his jacket pocket. His fingers found something small but significant. The moment of revelation approached like gathering thunder. "Ma'am," his voice carried quiet authority that made everyone stop talking, "I think there's been a fundamental misunderstanding here." Dominic slowly removed his tuxedo jacket, revealing a custom dress shirt with subtle city seal embroidery on the collar. The afternoon sun caught the metallic thread as he folded the jacket carefully over his arm. Every movement was deliberate, measured. He reached into his inside pocket and withdrew a leather wallet. From it, he extracted an official identification card and approached Officer Morales with the quiet confidence of someone accustomed to command. "Good afternoon, officers," Dominic said, extending the ID with practiced authority. Officer Morales took one look at the credential and his entire posture transformed. His back straightened, shoulders squared, and he immediately stepped back with military precision. "Good afternoon, Your Honor," Officer Morales said clearly, his voice carrying across the suddenly silent crowd. The words hit Lorraine like a physical blow. Her live stream audience erupted in real-time chaos. "Wait, what did he say? Your Honor, is that the mayor? Oh my God, she called cops on the mayor. She's so done." Screenshot everything. Lorraine's phone nearly slipped from her trembling hands. "Your Honor, what does that mean? What's happening?" Officer Vargas immediately followed her partner's lead, standing at attention. "Sir, we apologize for any inconvenience. We were responding to a noise complaint." Dominic's voice remained calm and professional. "No apology necessary, officers. You're simply doing your jobs." He gestured toward Lorraine. Ms. Harlan was exercising her civic duty by reporting concerns to proper authorities. "Miss Harlan?" Lorraine stuttered, her world tilting sideways. "How do you know my name? Who are you?" "Ma'am," Dominic replied evenly, "I'm Dominic Langston, mayor of the city. We've actually met twice before at city council meetings where you addressed noise ordinances and municipal landscaping contracts." The revelation detonated across social media like a digital explosion. Maya's stream viewer count exploded as shares multiplied exponentially. Algorithms pushed the story to trending status. Comments flooded every platform. Mayor's wedding interrupted by racist Karen. She called cops on the mayor. This is the best plot twist ever. Black excellence meets white privilege. Lorraine staggered backward, her designer heels clicking frantically on pavement. "Mayor, but you live, this can't be happening." "Ma'am, I've resided a few doors down from you for several years," Dominic continued patiently. "The house with the blue shutters. We've exchanged pleasantries over the mailbox several times." Her mind raced through years of interactions, the polite neighbor who always waved, the man who helped her carry groceries during her hip surgery, the one who donated anonymously to her church fundraiser. She had seen his name on the thank you list. The news crews pivoted instantly. Reporter Lena Brooks pushed forward. "Mayor Langston, we had no idea this was your wedding ceremony." "Good afternoon, Lena. Yes, this is my wedding day. My wife Elena and I were hoping for a quiet neighborhood celebration." Lorraine's phone buzzed frantically with incoming calls. Her business line, her husband Victor's cell, her elderly mother. The notifications cascaded as her public meltdown reached viral status across every social platform simultaneously. "This has to be some mistake," she whispered, but her voice carried to the multiple live streams. "You can't be the mayor. I'm just what, Miss Harlan?" Dominic's question hung in the air like a challenge captured by many different cameras. The silence stretched uncomfortably as every lens focused on Lorraine's face. Her racist assumptions collided with undeniable reality, creating cognitive dissonance visible to thousands of viewers in real time. Captain Darius Reed stepped forward, removing his dress hat ceremoniously. "I can verify his honor's identity. I'm Captain Darius Reed, and I'm the groom's best man." Sergeant Thomas Reed approached Dominic with obvious respect. Sir, we'll handle this situation appropriately. Please accept our apologies for the disruption on your special day. Officers, Dominic addressed them with mayoral authority. No apologies necessary. You responded to a citizen's complaint professionally and promptly. Lorraine watched her phone screen in horror as viewer counts climbed exponentially. Her connection struggled under the traffic surge, but cellular service carried her humiliation to every corner of the internet. Ma'am, Officer Morales addressed Lorraine formally, we need to discuss the nature of your complaint. The event appears fully permitted and within all city ordinances. Permitted? Lorraine's voice cracked. He permitted his own wedding. Actually, Dominic corrected gently, permits are processed through the Parks and Recreation Department. I recused myself from any decisions involving this address to avoid conflicts of interest. Standard municipal ethics protocol. He produced his thick folder of documentation with practiced efficiency. Permit filed and approved, posted for public comment, fee paid in full, insurance certificate with substantial liability coverage. Officer Vargas verified the documents with her scanner app. Everything appears legitimate and in order, sir. Noise levels well within parameters. Dominic's grandmother Evelyn approached slowly with her walker, her city council pin catching the afternoon light. Her presence commanded immediate respect from the officers and growing crowd. Officers, this young man has served our community with distinction for years, first as councilman, then as mayor. He's one of the youngest mayors in decades. Lorraine stared at the elderly woman she had dismissed minutes earlier. You're on the city council? Former councilwoman, dear, decades of service to this community. I helped draft many of the community standards you've been quoting incorrectly. The wedding photographer, a consummate professional, continued documenting everything. These weren't the photos Dominic and Elena had planned, but they would tell an important story about power, prejudice, and perseverance. Social media analytics showed explosive growth across all platforms. Streams reached thousands of viewers and climbing. Hashtags trended. Shares multiplied rapidly. Lorraine's landscaping business page began receiving negative reviews in real time. One-star ratings poured in as viewers identified her company through basic searches. Local news apps sent push notifications. Breaking stories spread. Willowbrook mayor's wedding disrupted by neighbor. Viral racist complaints backfire. City contractor attacks mayor's wedding. Ms. Harlan, Dominic continued with measured professionalism, your company has provided excellent service to our municipal parks. Whitmore Landscaping has maintained city grounds and recreational facilities for years. Your crew does beautiful work maintaining our community spaces. Each professional compliment felt like a knife twist, highlighting the catastrophic nature of her mistake. Her livelihood depended entirely on city contracts worth millions annually. Her racist tirade against the mayor, her primary client, was being broadcast to thousands of witnesses with screenshot capabilities. Your Honor, she stammered, I didn't know. This is all a terrible misunderstanding. I'm not sure what part constitutes a misunderstanding, Dominic replied calmly. You've been quite clear about your feelings regarding these people in our neighborhood. The phrase, captured on multiple recordings, would follow her forever. Employment lawyers across the city began saving screenshots for future discrimination cases. More news vans arrived. The quiet residential street transformed into a media circus as the story gained momentum. Ma'am, Officer Morales asked formally, would you like to amend your complaint? The noise levels are within legal parameters. All permits are valid, and the event is clearly a lawful gathering. Lorraine looked around desperately. Her neighbors who had supported her earlier now avoided eye contact. Mrs. Patterson quietly retreated to her house. Mr. Novak deleted his recordings and slipped away. I want to speak to your supervisor, she said weakly. Sergeant Thomas Reed stepped forward with authority. I am the supervisor, ma'am, and I've worked closely with Mayor Langston on community policing initiatives for some time. He's transformed police-community relations here. Dominic checked his watch. The ceremony had been delayed long enough. Officers, with your permission, I'd like to proceed with my wedding ceremony. My wife has been extraordinarily patient with this disruption. Of course, Your Honor, Sergeant Reed replied respectfully. We'll ensure no further interruptions to your celebration. Lorraine stood alone in her driveway, watching her world collapse in real time. Her live stream continued broadcasting to thousands of viewers who were screen recording everything for permanent preservation. Children from neighboring houses peeked through windows, their parents explaining why the important man in the fancy suit was being so measured with the woman who had been yelling. Elena finally spoke, her voice carrying clearly. Dominic, let's have our wedding. We've waited long enough. Dominic smiled at his wife with genuine warmth, then addressed the crowd professionally. Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to witness a celebration of love in our community. As the wedding party prepared to finally begin their ceremony, Dominic made one final gesture that would change everything Lorraine thought she knew about power, community, and consequences. He adjusted his cufflinks and addressed the growing crowd with the measured authority of someone accustomed to public speaking. News cameras focused on his every word as he transformed from groom to mayor before their eyes. Since we have assembled here as a community, he began, his voice carrying clearly across the street, perhaps this is an appropriate time to discuss municipal standards and vendor accountability. Lorraine's face drained of color. She understood the implications immediately. Her business contracts hung in the balance of whatever came next. Dominic retrieved a tablet from his wedding planner's bag, the device containing years of municipal data. Current noise level measurement shows readings well within our weekend residential limit. Officer Vargas confirmed with her official meter, verified, no ordinance violations detected. Our outdoor event permit was filed through proper channels, Dominic continued, his tone remaining professorial rather than accusatory. Processing fee paid in full, fire department inspection completed with commendations for safety protocols. Lorraine's hands shook as she realized every procedural detail had been followed meticulously. Her complaints had no legal foundation. Ms. Harlan, as a long-standing city contractor, you're familiar with our vendor conduct standards, correct? Yes, Your Honor, Lorraine whispered. Her live stream audience now documented her professional downfall in real time. Dominic pulled up the relevant municipal code on his tablet. City charter states that all contractors must demonstrate community respect and professional behavior in their interactions with residents. Vendors engaging in discriminatory behavior, harassment, or actions contrary to our stated values of inclusivity may face contract review, suspension, or termination following due process. The crowd listened in absolute silence as Dominic methodically built his case using existing law rather than emotional appeals. Your company currently holds multiple municipal contracts valued at millions annually. Memorial Park renovation, spring flower installation, athletic field maintenance, winter holiday decorations. Today's incident has generated hundreds of formal complaints to the mayor's office in a short time. Our non-discrimination hotline has received many calls. The city's reputation as an inclusive community is now being questioned by tourism boards and business development councils. Social media analytics painted an even grimmer picture. Hashtags pairing Lorraine's name with Karen trended nationally alongside the wedding. Her business Google rating had plummeted with thousands of new reviews. Ms. Harlan, Dominic addressed her directly, would you like to review the video evidence of today's statements before we proceed further? He gestured toward the multiple cameras and live streams. Your remarks about these people, ghetto celebrations, and urban invasions have been documented by many different sources and viewed by thousands in real time. Lorraine's desperate backtracking began immediately. Your Honor, I never meant anything racial. I was concerned about noise and property values. You're taking my words out of context. Context, Dominic repeated thoughtfully. Let's examine that context through municipal policy. He pulled up another document. When your company signed our updated vendor agreement, it included explicit anti-discrimination pledges. You committed to upholding our community motto of unity and diversity. The irony wasn't lost on anyone present. Lorraine had literally signed a promise not to do exactly what she had spent the afternoon doing. Your business benefits significantly from city diversity initiatives. Minority-owned supplier requirements have increased your revenue over the years. Community beautification projects in diverse neighborhoods represent a substantial portion of your annual contracts. Each statistic landed like a precision strike, demonstrating how her racism directly contradicted her financial interests. Reporter Lena Brooks stepped forward. Mayor Langston, what are the potential consequences for Ms. Harlan's company? Municipal vendor agreements require a review process, Dominic explained professionally. First, immediate performance evaluation. Second, a public hearing. Third, community impact assessment. Lorraine's phone rang continuously. Her business partner, concerned employees, worried suppliers. Word was spreading through industry networks faster than she could manage. A public contractor review hearing will be scheduled promptly, Dominic announced. Ms. Harlan may present her defense of today's actions. Community members may provide testimony regarding vendor conduct standards. The hearing will be live-streamed for transparency. Your Honor, Lorraine pleaded desperately, I apologize publicly for my poor choice of words. This doesn't represent my true feelings about our diverse community. Dominic's response was measured and devastating. Ms. Harlan, municipal partnerships require consistent demonstration of stated values, not reactive apologies following public exposure. Sergeant Thomas Reed approached respectfully. Sir, would you like us to document this incident officially for the contractor review? Please prepare a complete report, Sergeant. Include all witness statements and media documentation. The city attorney will need comprehensive records for the proceedings. Lorraine watched her professional world disintegrate in real time. Her company employed local residents whose livelihoods now hung in balance because of her racist outburst. I want to emphasize, Dominic continued addressing the cameras, that any decision regarding Ms. Harlan's contracts will consider the impact on her employees and their families. Municipal justice should be measured and fair. Even while holding her accountable, Dominic demonstrated the grace and wisdom that had made him a respected leader. However, his tone sharpened slightly. City standards must be maintained. Taxpayer dollars cannot support vendors whose public behavior contradicts our community values. The economic reality was stark. Lorraine's company faced potential ruin if city contracts were terminated. No private clients could easily replace that level of municipal revenue. Mayor Langston, another reporter asked, how does this incident reflect on our community's commitment to racial equality? Today demonstrates that our systems work, Dominic replied confidently. When discrimination occurs, our community responds. When vendors violate conduct standards, accountability follows. When leadership is tested, we choose justice over convenience. Lorraine made one final desperate appeal. Your Honor, I've lived in this neighborhood for many years. My company has served this community faithfully. One mistake shouldn't destroy everything I've built. Dominic paused thoughtfully before responding. Ms. Harlan, one mistake suggests an isolated incident. However, your statements today revealed underlying attitudes that directly contradict your sworn vendor commitments. He gestured toward his wedding party. These are my neighbors, my constituents, my family. Your assessment of their character and their right to exist peacefully in our community raises fundamental questions about your fitness for municipal partnership. The crowd listened intently as Dominic delivered what amounted to a masterclass in principled leadership under pressure. The public hearing will determine whether your company can demonstrate genuine change and community commitment, or whether this community needs partners whose values align more closely with our municipal charter. Lorraine stood isolated in her driveway, her business empire crumbling with each professionally delivered sentence. Her live stream had swelled to thousands of viewers watching her professional reckoning in real time. Ms. Harlan, Dominic concluded, I strongly recommend consulting legal counsel before the proceedings. The city's vendor agreement includes morality clauses that have been thoroughly tested in municipal court. With that final warning, Dominic turned toward his wedding party. Officers, thank you for your professionalism. Neighbors, thank you for your patience. Media, please respect our ceremony. Ms. Harlan, I'll see you at the hearing. And the mayor had spoken. Justice would follow due process, and Lorraine Harlan faced the consequences of assuming that power, privilege, and prejudice would protect her from accountability in a community where the person she had attacked held the ultimate authority. The wedding ceremony finally began, witnessed by many people including officers, neighbors, media crews, and thousands of live stream viewers. Dominic took Elena's hands as Reverend Langston addressed the extraordinary gathering. Dearly beloved, we gather to celebrate love in the face of adversity, the Reverend began, his voice carrying special meaning after the afternoon's events. Today we've witnessed how grace conquers hatred, how dignity defeats discrimination. Lorraine watched from her window, curtains barely parted as her neighbors celebrated the man she had tried to humiliate. Her phone buzzed incessantly with calls from reporters, angry customers, and worried employees. The story quickly dominated local news cycles. Her business website crashed from negative traffic. Review platforms suspended activity temporarily due to unusual volume. Her business rating plummeted with thousands of one-star reviews citing racist behavior and unprofessional conduct. City council chambers filled for the public hearing. Lorraine entered with her attorney carrying a prepared statement and documentation of stress-related health impacts. Your Honor, she read from trembling papers, I displayed unconscious bias and catastrophically poor judgment. My words were inexcusable and do not represent my true values or my company's commitment to serving all residents. Community members testified during the hearing. Dominic recused himself from the decision, allowing the deputy mayor to lead the review committee. Mrs. Covington spoke in halting but clear terms. In all my years here, I never saw such ugly words at a happy celebration, but I also saw Lorraine help me with groceries last winter. People can change if they choose. The committee's verdict balanced justice with compassion. Lorraine's company would remain on probationary contractor status for a defined period. She personally would complete cultural competency training, submit diversity reports, and perform community service at the local community center. This isn't about punishment, the deputy mayor explained. It's about rehabilitation and ensuring our vendors reflect our community values. The systemic changes Dominic implemented proved lasting. A community welcome initiative launched soon after, establishing new protocols for discrimination complaints and conflict resolution. The neighborhood app now required verified identity, no anonymous posting allowed. Quarterly recognition programs celebrated inclusive community building. New vendor agreements included strengthened anti-discrimination language with specific behavioral expectations. Lorraine's transformation wasn't instant, but it was measurable. Her mandatory training sessions, initially attended with grudging resentment, gradually opened her eyes to unconscious biases she had never acknowledged. I didn't realize how my words sounded to others, she admitted during a community forum. Impact matters more than intent. Her community service hours at the center put her in daily contact with the diverse families she had previously feared. Slowly, genuine relationships replaced stereotypical assumptions. Her landscaping company's business model evolved too. She hired employees from underrepresented communities, not from legal obligation, but because training had taught her about untapped talent. Best workers I've ever had, she confessed to Dominic during a chance encounter at the grocery store. I almost lost my business because of my own ignorance. The community earned recognition in municipal publications as a model for inclusive governance. Lorraine's company won a Regional Diversity Excellence Award from the Municipal Contractors Association, an outcome nobody could have predicted from her viral meltdown. Dominic and Elena's anniversary celebration became a cherished community tradition. The Unity Day gathering drew hundreds of residents to the park for food, music, and relationship building across cultural lines. Lorraine contributed landscaping services, initially under supervision, but eventually as a trusted community partner. Her story became a teaching tool in local schools about the possibility of personal growth and redemption. Property values increased, driven by the community's reputation for successfully managing diversity challenges. The viral wedding story, initially devastating to the city's image, ultimately demonstrated effective leadership and systemic problem solving. Change doesn't happen overnight, Dominic reflected during a mayoral conference where he spoke about crisis leadership, but it happens when communities choose accountability over anger, process over punishment. Lorraine still struggled with ingrained biases, but her public commitment to growth made her accountable to neighbors who monitored her progress with cautious optimism. The transformation wasn't perfect, but it was real. One racist outburst had inadvertently created a stronger, more intentional community where differences were acknowledged, addressed, and ultimately celebrated. The neighborhood became proof that real-life stories of racial reconciliation were possible when leadership prioritized systematic change over symbolic gestures, when justice focused on rehabilitation rather than destruction, and when communities chose to grow together rather than tear each other apart. Dominic Langston stood in the same spot where Lorraine had thrown the wedding bouquet into the gutter. Now he held a proclamation declaring the community a model for inclusive practices by a national municipal league. The transformation had ripple effects beyond anyone's expectations. A prestigious university developed a case study titled Crisis Leadership in Local Government: The Langston Wedding Response. Many cities adopted variations of the welcome policies. Lorraine Harlan approached the podium at a Unity Day celebration, her hands steadier than they had been in years. I once stood in this same park as the worst version of myself, she told the crowd of hundreds of residents. Today I understand that real community means everyone belongs. Her landscaping company had become a regional leader in inclusive hiring practices. The business that nearly collapsed from her racist outburst now thrived with contracts spanning multiple municipalities, all seeking vendors committed to diversity excellence. I'm not proud of who I was, Lorraine continued, but I'm grateful for the second chance this community gave me to become someone better. The crowd applauded, not for her past mistakes, but for her genuine transformation witnessed through consistent growth and community service. Dominic's approval rating had climbed to among the highest in state history. Elena's nonprofit work expanded to neighboring areas. Their wedding story inspired a documentary about real-life stories of social change, which won awards at film festivals focused on stories of reconciliation. These weren't fairy tale endings, but real-world examples of how systematic responses to discrimination could create lasting change. The viral moment became a catalyst for policy innovations that protected other families from similar harassment. Stories like Dominic and Lorraine's prove that quiet strength often defeats loud prejudice more effectively than confrontation or revenge. Dominic's measured response proved that intelligence and principle trump intimidation when leaders choose systematic justice over emotional reactions. Young people studying the case learned valuable lessons about power, privilege, and the possibility of personal redemption. Lorraine's transformation showed that even deeply ingrained biases could change through sustained effort and community accountability. The story's lasting impact extended beyond the neighborhood. Municipal leaders nationwide referenced the Langston Standard when developing vendor conduct policies. Police departments used the incident to train officers on de-escalation and community relationship building. Life stories like Dominic and Lorraine's proved that touching stories of racial reconciliation were possible when communities committed to growth rather than retribution, when systems changed alongside individual hearts. Real change happens in moments like these, Dominic concluded during a Unity Day speech, when we choose to build bridges instead of walls, when we transform conflict into conversation, when we prove that our differences make us stronger. Your voice matters in creating these transformations. Have you witnessed discrimination in your community? Share your story in the comments. Real experiences create real change when we refuse to stay silent. Subscribe for more inspiring stories proving that measured justice defeats destructive prejudice every time. Hit that notification bell because transformation happens when communities choose accountability over anger. What would you have done in Dominic's position? How can we build more inclusive communities in our own neighborhoods? Tell us your thoughts below. And remember, the most powerful response to hate isn't anger. It's organized, systematic change that protects everyone who comes after. Share this story with someone who needs to see how quiet strength conquers loud prejudice. Together, we're writing better stories for the next generation.